Hello, welcome back to Asian Cinema Season. Today I have another movie review for you of a recent Japanese film called A Bride for Rip Van Winkle. A very recent film that just came out in the past year or two, and there's a number of versions of it out there. There's the 2-hour international version, there's the 3-hour director's cut, which I believe was screened in Japan, and there's also a 4-hour version out there too. I watched the 3-hour version, and again, I will try and do a spoiler section after my initial review of this, so I can talk about some of the details that I really feel like I need to talk about when I talk about this film. I was incredibly intrigued by the plot kind of tag of this film, which was very simple. A woman hires actors to be her friends and family at her wedding. To me, I looked at this and I thought, wow, a 3-hour movie, just a drama, about a woman who hires actors to be her friends and family. So I thought, okay, this is going to be one of those kind of like chamber pieces where it's like one location for the whole 3 hours, it's the whole wedding, and you see these actors come in pretending to be her family and friends, and like throughout the 3 hours the cracks start to appear, and then it all blows up into this big drama where the other side of the family realize these are imposters. But the wedding, where she hires actors, is maybe 5 minutes of the 3-hour movie. And I just had no idea where it was going to go from 10 minutes to the next. I mean, it just kept evolving and changing. We follow this woman across the whole 3 hours, the character of Nanami, played by the actress Haru Kyodoki, and she is revelatory in the film. I think she was just stunning, and her character doesn't have a lot to her, and she has a lot to her at the same time. It's a really complex character where it's someone who's very introverted, and so it's hard to get what's going on behind her eyes in a lot of sense, but in a lot of ways it isn't. It's just a really difficult character to get into, and I could see a lot of people thinking that it's a very underwritten, underdeveloped character and isn't really treated with the level of complexity that it should have been, and should have had more to it. And I could totally buy anyone thinking that, but to me, as somewhat of an introvert myself, and someone who has very much tried in the past to kind of just skate through things and to kind of just find my way, and very much have the appearance of someone who doesn't really have a lot of emotion in the factor. Not that she appears emotionless, but outside of the moments where you see her when she really breaks down through a lot of her misery, she very much just seems very apathetic to everything. And she's a very meek person, and she's a teacher, and there's a part at the beginning of the film where her students put a microphone on her desk because her voice isn't loud enough, and they tease her for this, and she ends up using the microphone, and they crack up about it, and she is very meek, and it just doesn't really like to exert herself very much openly. So we follow this character Nanami through a lot of stuff. At the beginning of the film, she's on this social media app called Planet, and she meets a guy, and they get married very quickly, and it's all very whirlwind and feels perhaps appropriate to Japan, and in Asia as well, where a marriage just happens very quickly, and it's almost like this arranged marriage without being arranged. It's like, well, you meet someone, you start dating, it's like, well, we should get married then, and then the parents get involved, and it becomes this bigger thing than perhaps it needed to be, and you question whether these two characters even really loved each other. And that part of the film is very threadbare. Like, we get no indication of this relationship between these two characters. It just kind of jumps to like the engagement ceremony, and then the wedding and so on, and we get the sense that he, is kind of embarrassed by the fact that she doesn't have a lot of family who can come to the wedding. That's when she kind of voices her opinion on her blog, like, her anonymous blog, I should say, where it's like, I got no one to come to the wedding, and someone replies saying, well, you can hire people. She's like, that's crazy. You can't do that, can you? He's like, sure, come meet me. So we meet this guy called Emoto, who becomes a big character in the film, and he's someone who can do anything. He's a facilitator. He's a con man, basically. He can kind of arrange things that normal people couldn't arrange, and he has lots of contact, and so he arranges this thing for Nanami where he gets actors to portray her family and friends at her wedding. And again, I thought this would be a big part of the movie, but it was really just a very small part. And we deal with the breakup of her marriage, and how absolutely left with nothing she is about an hour into the movie, and from there it just goes into a completely other different story. And we never really see from that husband again, and I was intrigued to kind of see if that was going to go anywhere else. And there's a very key moment in the film that I just couldn't really reconcile for the longest time. I've now thought about it all day. I watched it yesterday, and I think I know what it means now, so I'll talk about that a little bit in the end of the video. So the film is very sprawling. It takes its time, but I never felt bored. I was always interested, I was always intrigued as to where it was going to go first and foremost, because it was so enigmatic to me, like very surprising film in a lot of ways. I love the acting for most of the film, and really the main kind of second character of the movie doesn't come into it until about 90 minutes into the movie, which is kind of crazy, really. She really becomes the focal point of the story in a lot of ways. I mean, Nanami is still the main character, but her experiences are very much shaped by this second woman who comes into the film, who's played by the singer Coco, who I don't believe is a regular actress, but I thought she was fantastic. And I've read reviews where people say that she's terrible and she brings the film down. I thought she was great, and I thought the relationship between Mashiro and Nanami was just such an intriguing one to watch unfold. And it also, I mean, the film is very rich in the theme of the idea of public image and how we present ourselves, and it's to do with that social media thing, the Planet app, where she is leaving these anonymous blogs, and she's like, I got a boyfriend, you know, recently. It was like online shopping. It was with the click of a button. You know, he was an easy boyfriend for me to pick up, so does that mean he thinks I was an easy girlfriend? And just the idea of projecting stuff you want people to see about you, and living in that way where, are you really living as you, or are you living as who you want people to see you as? And it's that perception thing as well. And that ties in very much with the Emoto character, who's a very key figure, and he keeps popping up, and he's there to help out Nanami with all these things, but you're constantly questioning his motives, why he's doing these things, why he's helping her, why he has all these contacts who can do all these things. And eventually Nanami ends up being hired by him to be one of those fake family members at another wedding. And so we see the other side of it. And I love the moment where, you know, they're cutting the cake and all the fake family members are taking pictures, and the camera cuts around and they're taking selfies of each other and just having a laugh about it, basically. And then we see this kind of fake family that's been formed on the day after the wedding's over, the job's done, and they go out and they have a dinner together, and they're almost like a family, you know. And it's, again, it's questioning like what's really real and what's really fake. And you know, you can just look into that and really analyze this film, I think, with a lot of those themes that are very rich with a lot of the characters' choices, particularly Mashiro, who lives a very interesting life. And the way that it unfolds is very intriguing to me, and again, I was never really bored. The only problem I have with the film is the last 15 minutes. Now, I feel like you could almost cut to black on a particular very long take in the film of Nanami and Mashiro having this conversation in bed, and I feel like you could end the movie there and it would be great. But it goes on past that, and I liked where it went past that. I thought, again, it was an interesting twist, and it was done well, and it made you kind of reevaluate everything else that had happened before, and it gave the movie another texture and another layer to it that I'm looking forward to seeing when I revisit the film at some point. But there's a scene towards the end that involves, and if you've seen the film, which I highly doubt you have, but if you have seen the film, it's the scene with the drinking and the crying. And I just felt that this scene the movie almost collapsed under the ridiculous weight of this scene that didn't need to be there. I have no idea if it was supposed to be this funny release after all this kind of serious stuff, or whether it was meant to be even more serious and emotional and touching. But I got neither of those things. I just felt uncomfortable. I didn't buy it, and the Emoto character was key to that as well. I just didn't understand where he was coming from in that scene whatsoever. The scene almost worked, but it really didn't ultimately, and it just dragged the film down. The final scene I thought was very well done and very fitting to the character of Nanami, and I like how, you know, it's like the anti-arc movie in a lot of ways, where there hasn't been this clear kind of setup and then conflict and resolution. You know, it's more like life, where things go up and down and you don't know what's happening, and you're happy one moment and you're devastated the next, and ultimately, at the end of it, you know, you just keep on keeping on. You know, that's kind of the message I got from Nanami's character towards the end. I like the running theme of her teaching this kid through her laptop. I mean, she quits teaching eventually, but the parent of the kid that she teaches through Skype is like, she only wants to be taught by you. She doesn't go out, you know. And that's another thing, is that kind of and how you interact with other people through screens and all that kind of stuff. But I can't really go into it without spoiling things, but the key to this film really is about what's really real and what's really fake about society and the way we interact with each other, and I loved that idea. The film was shot beautifully, you know, just very nice cinematography, and really helped the film. It was filled with lots of classical music, like Mozart and so on, and even though that's a lot of recognizable stuff that you feel like, well, any director can kind of go to that well of using that really great classical music, but it really works, what can I say? There's some fantastic moments of acting that really drew me into the story. But as I said, that scene towards the end really just dragged the film down. But I would love to see the 4-hour version. I'd love to see the extra hour, what that encompasses, you know. We start very abruptly with Nanami in the street to meet her boyfriend, who eventually becomes her husband, and you know, I'd like to see maybe more of a setup to that. I don't know. I'm really intrigued to see what the 4-hour version is, but I think you can only get it on a Hong Kong Blu-ray, which has English subtitles. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there. I think this film is almost a masterpiece in a lot of ways. It's just fantastic, but it's just that scene at the end, and also something I can't quite fully reconcile. I have my opinion on it, but it bugs me still. So I'll talk about that in just a second. But otherwise, A Bride for Rip Van Winkle, fantastic film. Kind of has a point taken off it for me because of that ending scene, but nevertheless is a film you should absolutely check out, I think. But it is one you need patience for, but it's one that I was oddly gripped by for the entire 3-hour duration. So there we go. That's my thoughts, spoiler free, on the film A Bride for Rip Van Winkle. Now, spoiler talk. So in the first 40 minutes of the movie, there's this whole kind of subplot where Nanami thinks that her husband is cheating on her. And I don't know whether she was trying to project that because she wasn't happy in this marriage and she wanted him to be cheating on her. And she meets with Emoto and says, I want to know if he's cheating on me. And I don't know whether Emoto took that to mean, well, I'll make it that he's cheating on you. You know, I'll get you out of this, no worries. Because he very much sets up this fake affair. And that breaks up her entire marriage. And I don't know if Emoto was trying to help her by doing this, or whether it was linked to his hiring by Mashiro from earlier on, because Mashiro, this woman who was dying of terminal cancer, wanted a friend. She was buying a friend. She was buying Nanami as a friend so that she couldn't die. She didn't have to die alone. So I don't know where that runs. I'm leaning towards the idea that Mashiro paid Emoto a shit ton of money. I mean, he said that she was paying him the equivalent of $100,000 to buy her a friend who could be with her during her last days. And maybe he kind of took the opportunity when he was working with Nanami and hiring her the fake family members, and he thought, this is someone who I can get to be this person, and she seems like she's unhappy in her marriage, so I'll break it up and I'll manipulate her into being this woman's friend, and I'll get more money out of it. In that sense, he's a very sinister and uncaring character, almost a psychopath in a lot of ways, I would say. Maybe not a psychopath, but just a guy who doesn't care about breaking up a marriage if it'll earn him some money. But outside of that scene where he sets up her getting her marriage dismantled and broken up, he is played as this character who's very kind of charismatic and kind of cool and is there to be the nice guy and help her out at all times, and he's that facilitator. And at the very end of the film, he turns up when she's moved into a new place and he's like, hey, I got all this cool furniture for you. If people don't want it, you can have it, take it for free. And if you need anything else, give me a call. And that's it. He's the nice guy. And I don't know whether we're meant to think that he's that guy who's always going to be there and kind of be a danger to her, and is basically scammed her basically from out of her marriage and into this relationship with Mashiro as her kind of live-in friend. But I loved how it explored that relationship with Mashiro, where a real friendship formed, but it was born out of being purchased, and whether it's still valid or not. And there's just some really great moments between Mashiro and Nanami, and the last moments of Mashiro's life that I think were just so great, so well done, and so well written and performed. Love that stuff so much. But it's just the Emoto stuff. And when they go and visit Mashiro's mother, and she's distraught that her daughter was a porn star, and she's no daughter of mine. How can you do that and take your clothes off in front of people? And then her mother takes her clothes off and strips naked. She's crying like, oh, isn't this embarrassing? And then Emoto strips off. He's like, oh, it's so embarrassing being naked. He's drinking, he's slobbering all over himself, he's crying. I'm like, is he just doing this for another scam? He doesn't. I just felt like this wasn't a guy who had any real emotions apart from the thrill of the chase, the thrill of making money. So that scene just fell completely flat to me. So it is what it is. Very intrigued to see the 4-hour cut, but loved this film. Really, really did. Had my reservations about it, but I think ultimately that's that part of the film where Emoto broke up Nanami's marriage, which, to be fair, was a marriage that she wasn't that happy in and wasn't really someone she was in love with. It was something that she very much just went along with. And again, plays into that idea of image, just to get married, to have that kind of social status, I suppose, and to project that to other people through the internet and things like that. I'm married now, whatever. So that social media age plays into the film very strongly, I think. But yeah, I think the idea of him breaking up that marriage was to do with this grand master plan of being paid $100,000 from Mashiro to just, you know, have a friend be bought for her so that she could not die alone. So, and just the idea of them dying in that room, or her dying in that room with the poisonous animals surrounding her, you know, and yeah, just really well done, really well directed, put together, all that good stuff. So I rambled on far too long, but it's a film I felt like I needed to discuss to a camera on my own in this room. But I feel like I've kind of gone through some film therapy here, and I have reconciled my thoughts on it. You know, it's a great film that really doesn't need that scene. Just take that out of the film, you know. And again, greatly intrigued to see if maybe the 2-hour cut removes that, or whether the 4-hour cut expands upon it. I don't know. But I love the 3-hour version. I really wouldn't want to do without any of it. I really wouldn't. All the scenes were so interesting to me, and just captured moments, you know, just these moments of loneliness, and that's a key theme as well, is loneliness in the film, both from Nanami and Mashiro. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Definitely check out the film if you've for some reason watched it this far and are still not convinced. Give it a shot, and I'll see you in the next one.
It's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you.